Welcome to a tale that carries you into a land of soft magic and peaceful harmony. Before we begin, make yourself cozy. Imagine you're lying on a warm, gentle cloud, drifting above a quiet village. Feel your muscles loosen and your worries float away. In this village called Chandrapura, life once flowed easily with nature. The small houses, topped by clay roofs, sit at the edge of an ancient forest. Picture these little homes glowing in the sunlight, looking almost like tiny lanterns. In the past, the villagers lived carefully, taking only what they needed from the nearby woods and river. They respected every tree, every bit of earth, and every flow of water. But as time passed, things began to change. The village grew bigger, and the people forgot to give back to the forest. They cut down trees without planting new ones. They took more water from the river than it could spare. Soon, the animals that once roamed close to the village had to move deeper into the forest. It wasn't that the villagers wished to harm anything. They simply forgot how to live in balance. This is where our main character, Anaya, comes in. She's a curious and kind-hearted 12-year-old girl. While other children played in the fields, Anaya found comfort in the forest. She loved the rustle of leaves in the breeze, the songs of hidden birds, and the gentle flow of the river over smooth stones. Sometimes, she felt like the forest was whispering secrets just for her. One morning, after a soft rain, Anaya decided to wander deeper into the woods than ever before. The sun's rays lit the raindrops on the leaves, making them sparkle like tiny jewels. She didn't follow a path. She just let her curiosity guide her. Suddenly, she heard a quiet whimper. It sounded like an animal in pain. Pushing aside some branches, she found a small deer lying on damp leaves. Its leg was hurt, and it trembled with fear. Anaya's heart filled with concern. Moving slowly so she wouldn't scare the deer, she took a little pouch from her waist. Inside were a piece of roti and some water she had brought for her walk. "Here, sweet friend," she whispered, offering water first. The deer hesitated, but soon realized Anaya meant no harm. It sipped carefully, looking a bit peaceful. She then broke the roti into small pieces and fed the deer. To wrap its wound, she used some large leaves and vines, making a gentle bandage. She wasn't an expert, but she did her best. When she was done, the deer blinked at her, like it understood her kindness. Slowly, it tried standing. Anaya gasped in relief when it managed to stay upright, even with a slight wobble. It nudged her hand softly, then limped forward, glancing back, as if asking her to follow. Anaya did, her heart thumping with excitement. The deer led her deeper into the forest, where the trees grew older and taller. Vines tangled from heavy branches, and the soft light filtering through the canopy gave everything a dreamy glow. Finally, the deer stopped in front of an ancient structure, a hidden temple almost swallowed by roots and moss. Two stone elephants stood at the entrance, their trunks raised in what looked like a blessing. A faint flute-like melody seemed to drift through the air, making Anaya feel both calm and curious. She turned to thank the deer, but it faded into the thick shadows of the forest, leaving her with only the sound of its soft footsteps. Turning back to the temple, Anaya felt a mix of wonder and nervousness. The carvings on the walls showed animals of every kind, woven around a figure of Lord Ganesha, the elephant-headed deity. Each carving seemed almost alive, frozen in mid-movement. Inside the temple, at its heart, A statue of Lord Ganesha sat in peaceful silence. A soft golden light surrounded it, like a gentle glow from a hidden lantern. In front of the statue, on a small pedestal, lay a shimmering golden scroll. Anaya could hardly breathe. Every inch of this place felt like it was filled with a special energy, both powerful and comforting. She stepped forward, her bare feet touching the cool, mossy stones. All around her, the air seemed to hum. Suddenly, a low, gentle voice echoed through the temple, as if the walls themselves were speaking. "Anaya, child of the forest," it said, "this scroll is not meant for those who want power or fame. Only those who want to understand and protect may have it." Anaya's heart pounded. She looked up at the statue and whispered, Who are you?" "I am Ganesha, guardian of wisdom," the voice answered, deep as a distant drum. "You have shown kindness to a creature of my forest, and your heart is honest. But before you can receive this gift, you must see the truth of the world around you." Suddenly, the glow of the scroll shifted and formed an image. It was an image of her own village by the river, but the water was dark and sluggish. She saw tree stumps where tall trunks once stood. She saw scared animals with nowhere to go. She realized that her village, her own people, had caused this damage without meaning to. "If you take the scroll," continued Lord Ganesha, "you must help both your village and the forest. Will you do this?" Anaya blinked back tears, thinking about the poor deer, the changing river, and the disappearing trees. "Yes," she said quietly, but firmly. "I will do all I can." In response, the golden light wrapped around her like a warm blanket. "Then the gift is yours. This scroll will help you hear the voices of all living things. But remember, its power is meant for understanding, not controlling." When she stepped back outside, the forest looked brighter and richer than before. She found a fallen log, sat down, and whispered, "Let me hear you, forest." All at once, she heard chirps and rustles, but now they were more than sounds. They were voices. "Did you see the sunrise?" A sparrow's voice piped, excited and sweet. It was such a bright one today. "Watch out, little ones," warned an older squirrel. "The wind is strong in the high branches." Anaya's eyes widened. She could understand them. She tested her new gift by greeting a small family of deer. One turned, looking surprised. "You speak our language? How is that possible?" With a gentle laugh, Anaya replied, "I was given a special scroll to help me listen. I promise to use it to help you." The deer's eyes sparkled with hope. "Will you bring back the tall trees so we can have shelter again?" one asked softly. Anaya felt a small ache in her heart. "I'll do my best," she said. "We have to work together." She spent the day discovering the forest from this new perspective. She heard the tiny, squeaky voices of ants talking about the coming rains, and she suggested building a small barrier to protect their anthill from floods. She laughed with the monkeys who teased her with half-ripe fruit, and she soothed birds, worried about finding worms in the dry soil. Each creature had its own worries and joys, and now she could hear them all. When evening came, Anaya headed back to the village. She felt the weight of a new responsibility. The forest trusted her, but her people were stuck in their old ways. How would she convince them to respect the forest again? That night, Anaya lay on her simple woven cot outside her house, gazing at the sky glittering with stars. The air was cool, and the sounds of the village settling down for the evening mixed with the faint chorus of crickets. Even as her eyelids grew heavy, she couldn't stop thinking about the forest, the animals depending on her, the golden scroll tucked safely away, and her promise to help. When the sun rose, she woke with a renewed sense of purpose. After quickly finishing her morning chores, filling water pots and helping her mother grind spices, Anaya slipped the scroll into her sling bag. She left for the forest, heart beating with excitement. She wanted to learn more about her gift and figure out the best way to convince her village to protect the forest. Entering the woods felt like stepping into another world. The sunbeams streaming between leaves made patterns on the ground, dancing each time a breeze stirred the branches above. As she walked, squirrels peered down, curious about the girl who spoke their language. A pair of monkeys scampered along the higher branches, giggling among themselves. "Good morning," Anaya called softly. Her voice carried a hint of cheer, like a gentle ripple in a pond. "Morning, friend," chattered one monkey, dipping low enough that Anaya could see its beady eyes. "We saw you help that deer the other day." "Yes," Anaya replied, smiling. "I want to help all of you, but I don't know how to make the villagers see your struggles." A bird with emerald green feathers glided down to perch on a low branch. It tilted its head, as if deep in thought. Humans rarely listen. They think the forest is just wood and land to use. Anaya sighed. "I believe they'll change if they see how serious things have become." Her gaze wandered toward the heart of the forest. "Would you help me show them?" The monkeys exchanged glances, tails curling thoughtfully. "Help you?" one repeated. "How?" Anaya knelt, unfastening the scroll from her bag. Its golden surface shimmered in the dappled sunlight. "If I bring some of you to the village," she explained, "the elders might finally understand. They'll see the animals they share this land with. They'll see that we need each other." A soft flapping sound came from the branches above. A parrot landed beside the emerald bird, bright feathers seeming to glow. "I'll join," it squawked, "if you promise the humans won't chase us away." Anaya smiled gently. "I promise to protect you. We'll do this carefully." With that, she gathered a small group of forest creatures, monkeys, birds, deers, rabbits, and even a timid fox that poked its nose out from behind a fallen log. Together, they walked and hopped and flew toward Chandrapura. As they approached the village outskirts, the animals slowed, looking uneasy. Smoke curled from kitchen fires, and the distant clanging of a blacksmith's hammer bounced across the dusty roads. Children ran between huts, laughing and playing games. "It's all right," Anaya assured them, her voice like a soothing lullaby. "No one will hurt you while I'm here." Even so, some villagers noticed the approaching animals and gasped, stepping back in alarm. One woman dropped the basket she was carrying, spilling bright red chili peppers onto the ground. "Anaya," a man exclaimed, eyes wide. "Why are these creatures following you?" Taking a steadying breath, Anaya walked toward the center of the village, beckoning the animals to come with her. "I need everyone to gather," she said. "Please, call the elders, call grandfather and the rest." curiosity rippled through the villagers. Some looked frightened, others wore expressions of pure wonder. Soon, under the wide shade of the banyan tree, a crowd formed. Men and women holding farming tools, children still dusty from playing, and the elderly leaning on walking sticks. Anaya stood before them, her hands trembling slightly. She set down her sling bag, carefully taking out the golden scroll. It glowed softly, catching the eye of every villager. "What is this, child?" asked one elder, eyebrows knitted in confusion. Anaya cleared her throat. "Grandfather, uncles, aunties," she began, echoing the respectful tone she'd used before. "I've been to a hidden temple in the forest. Lord Ganesha's voice came to me, granting me this scroll. With it, I can hear the voices of all living things, animals, maybe even trees." A low murmur spread through the crowd. Some villagers exchanged doubtful glances. Others leaned in, clearly intrigued. She continued, "Our forest is suffering. The animals have lost their homes as we keep cutting trees. The river is getting dirty because of how we use it and toss waste into it. If we don't change, we'll destroy the very land we depend on." "Anaya," one elderly man said gently, "you have a kind heart, but these are just stories. The forest has always provided for us. Why would it suddenly fail now?" A monkey hopped forward, baring its tiny teeth in frustration. It let out a flurry of chattering noises, pointing at the villagers with its small paws. To the crowd, the sound was animal chatter, but to Anaya, it was clear. How can they not see the missing trees, the river's filth? Anaya translated calmly. "He says you must open your eyes to what you've done." A hush fell over the gathering. The villagers looked stunned. Did Anaya really understand the creature's words? "Have you truly gone mad, child?" another villager asked, both concerned and skeptical. Before Anaya could reply, a shadow fell across the group. Everyone turned to see a large elephant emerging from a side path, stepping slowly and solemnly toward the banyan tree. It was the same elephant that roamed the deeper parts of the forest, so rarely seen that some believed it was just a legend. The elephant stopped near the crowd. Its great ears flapped gently, and its trunk curled in the air, searching. A hush of awe spread over the villagers. They had never been this close to such a magnificent animal. Softly, Anaya placed her hand on the elephant's trunk. She looked up into its wise, dark eyes. "Will you tell them what you told me?" she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. The elephant let out a deep rumble that vibrated through the ground. While the villagers only heard a low roar, Anaya heard words laden with sorrow. "We have watched the forest grow thin. The river chokes on waste. If this continues, soon there will be no place for us, or for you." Slowly, Anaya repeated these words. A collective gasp rose from the villagers, some covering their mouths in shock. Children huddled closer to their parents, sensing the seriousness of this moment. Finally, Anaya's grandfather stepped forward, leaning on his wooden cane. "I did not know," he murmured, eyes brimming with regret. "We have always thought of the forest as endless and the river as never-ending. We've been foolish," another elder said softly. "Tell us, Anaya, how can we make this right?" The elephant breathed out a slow, heavy sigh. It gently nudged Anaya with its trunk, as if to encourage her to speak. Taking a steady in breath, she gathered her thoughts. We can start by cleaning the river. We should stop dumping our waste. We can also plant new trees to replace the ones we've cut. The forest and its creatures will help us if we show we're sincere. A parrot with bright blue wings fluttered above the villagers, chirping a loud call. Anaya listened, then said, "The parrot asks that we protect nesting spots, stop harvesting all the fruits or cutting down branches that hold their homes." The crowd began nodding, exchanging looks that blended guilt with determination. Some people stepped forward to approach the animals, offering gentle words of apology. A toddler even extended a little hand toward the fox, who sniffed it curiously. By the time the sun climbed high, a new mood spread through Chandrapura, one of hope. Plans formed quickly. Cleaning teams would start by gathering and removing trash from the riverbanks. Others would dig holes for saplings in spots where large trees once stood. Farmers offered seeds, while the children promised to keep an eye out for baby birds or small animals needing help. With every promise spoken, the forest creatures seemed to relax. Monkeys swung from low-hanging branches around the banyan tree, clapping their paws together in excitement. Deer ventured closer, softly nudging the arms of villagers as if to say, "Thank you." The elephant, towering and calm, dipped its head in a stately bow, acknowledging the villagers' change of heart. At last, Anaya's grandfather placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Child," he said, voice cracking with emotion, "we owe you our gratitude. Without you, we might never have listened to the forest's pain. Let us begin our work, and may we never forget this lesson." Anaya grinned through tears that glistened in her eyes. The scroll in her bag felt warm, almost pulsing with approval. Lord Ganesha's blessing, she realized, was as much about unity and respect as it was about hearing the animals speak. If her village and the forest worked hand in hand, a new era of harmony could begin. Now, as you breathe and imagine this peaceful scene, see the villagers scattered along the river's edge, picking up old pots and broken nets, while the forest animals hover nearby, guiding and watching. Envision the seeds going into soft earth, ready to grow into strong, tall trees that sway in gentle breezes. Let the warmth of new friendship between humans and animals fill your heart as you drift into rest.